Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video we are going to be doing some flower letters. Now I have gotten behind on my flower letters and I do apologize to you guys for getting behind on them. I had a sewing project that I had started and I kind of got into it more than what I should have, and I kind of got a little bit behind on my flower letters, but no worries, we are going to catch them up and we are going to get back on track with them. Starting with these letters, I'm going to try my best to read through them as quickly as I can and not make a super long video out of this. So let's get to this. So let's start with letter number 15. Alright, so we have a attention read first. Let's go ahead and pop this one open and see what it says. Okay, so this is a telegram. It is saying October 10th, 1884 from the railway station to, I guess, Frisco, Utah Territory, to Mr. Matthew Hickman. Matt, White Widow strikes again. Frisco citizens satisfied Miss Moore is innocent. She is free to take her dress business back to her shop and leave me in peace. Thank the good Lord for that. Sam. Oh, okay. Alright. So she is not the White Widow. We all knew that, of course. We knew that Gambit was just up to something. This looks like the letter. Looks like it's going to be to Miss Moore. This could be from Matt. And we have a picture. Maybe this will be a picture of Mr. Hickman. It is. It is a picture of Mr. Hickman. It says Matthew Hickman, 1884. It says, while you're thinking over my proposal, hopefully this photograph will help keep me at the forefront of your mind. I know Sam's a mighty good looking fellow, but I feel it's important you're able to make a proper comparison before making your final decision. Ooh, what proposal is he talking about, guys? So okay, this is a picture. I'm going to try to get a close-up for you guys so you guys can see him. Tell me what you think. He's not bad looking. I'm not sure what Mr. Sam, the sheriff, looks like, but he is not a bad looking fellow. Looks like we have a business card. We'll go ahead and we're going to look at this. I love this. I love the green that's in it and the little bit of color that they put in it, the red and the pink. Oh, and the back of it, that's cute too. We have a horseshoe on the back. I really like that. It just says that it's a dry goods company. And I'm going to say that these are like a couple of letters, kind of, like his adventures while he's out and about. I might wait and read these after the letter, and then we'll just kind of put it together. So let's go ahead. Oh, and if I'm mistaken, yes, we have another piece of the map on here. So we're going to try to go ahead and get that done as well. So let's go ahead and let's see what he has to say. And I love this paper, by the way. It is pink. It's a little bit of yellow. We've got some purple and blues in there. I really, really love this paper. And like the back of it, we have some purple. Looking like clouds. Really, really love it. Their paper is always so beautiful at Flower Letter. So, October 15th, 1884. Dear Miss Moore, boy, I was relieved to get Parsons' telegram. I'm not sure if I should say this, but I'm mighty glad the White Widow struck again. Of course, only because it proved your innocence. You've been on my mind real steady like since I first heard about your imprisonment. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to jump ship where the stars were concerned and head back to Frisco to bust you out of jail and take you away from there for good. I'm glad I didn't, though. Running away from problems is never the answer. Parsons' a great lawman, and I knew he wouldn't let any harm come to you. Besides, it looks like he's got a lead on something that just might get Gambit off your back once and for all. If only I can get a lead of my own where the stars are concerned. I finally caught up to them again after a few days' ride past the mountains. I knew I'd wandered into Navajo territory when I started seeing large sandstone spires and butts jutting out of the earth like great stone giants across a desert sky. The Navajo consider this place sacred, a place where nature and spirit can find sanctuary. After riding through it on my own, I can see why. I sure wish you could have seen it at sunset, Miss Moore. I've never seen anything like it in all my wanderings. I've ridden through a lot of fine country over the years, but never through these particular rock formations, and never at sunset. I don't know any tracker who's comfortable riding into Indian Territory, alone or otherwise. I'm no exception, however. I've had successful dealings with the Navajo before. I got acquainted with a few scouts under the command of Lieutenant Henry Wright during the Indian Wars. The Ninth Cavalry helped us fight off Victorio and his Apache braves back in '79. That's where I met Esquihatu. A plan for catching the stars struck me when I realized where they were leading me, and I decided to pay my old friend Esquihatu a visit. I caught up with him and a band of braves while they were out patrolling the northwest border of the Navajo Territory. I was taking shelter in an abandoned hogan. I told him of the predicament I was in and that the stars would bring bad medicine to his people if he didn't help me catch them. He did just what I expected and refused me. Didn't seem concerned with whatever danger 3 women could pose to his people. However, he began to listen when I showed him the Stars Wanted poster. At first, I thought it was just because he was dazzled by their fine looks. He asked why I was chasing them and if it was because I wanted one of them as my squaw. I told him I had someone else in mind for that, and my only interest in the stars was to see justice done. When I told him what they'd done in Chicago, Esquihatu finally agreed to help me. After I shared my scheme with him and his braves, we headed out in search of the Stars' camp. It didn't take long to find, as the Stars didn't seem to be trying for discreetness. They were camped at the base of one of the giant sandstone spears. It was dusk when we rode into their camp. I could see their fire a mile away and felt confident this plan would finally work. Well, Miss Moore, that should have been my first clue to hightail it out of there. But my mama didn't raise a quitter, so keep reading, but don't judge my foolhardiness too harshly. When we rode into camp, Esquihatu's braves stayed out of sight in order to surround the stars. All 3 ladies welcomed us with a much southern hospitality as one could muster in a barren desert. I told them why I was there and that I ensured no harm would come to them if they turned themselves in. They tuttered all the polite like, but said they had no intention of coming back to Chicago, where they were sure to hang. I told them Esquihatu and his braves had a fate much worse than hanging in store for them if they didn't clear out. Right on cue, Esquihatu demanded the stars leave and said he was only extending the hospitality of allowing them to depart unharmed because of my friendship with him. Esquihatu and his men played their part well. The warriors surrounding the camp began to move in on the stars. When the ladies still refused to surrender, Esquihatu took out his knife and made to come after them. Stood between him and the stars, and we had a knife fight. It was harmless, just for show. I needed to demonstrate that the braves meant the stars harm. A knife fight with Esquihatu, who's well known all over the territory as a vicious opponent with the blade, seemed the best way to do it. Esquihatu was supposed to let me win the knife fight, but the double-crossing coyote hoodwinked me. It was only when his knife was inches from my belly, ready to slash me open, that I realized I, and not the stars, was being played the fool. Again. Turns out the Navajo already knew the stars were in their territory. Turns out the stars were revered by the tribe due to their help during a smallpox outbreak a few years ago. And turns out that they're gifted asylum and safe passage through the Navajo Nation whenever they required it. I'm not a cursing man, Miss Moore. I'll admit a few choice words crossed my mind just then, especially when Esquihatu and his braves hog-tied me and begun burying me up to my neck in sand. I did put up a heck of a fight, though, and they won't be thanking me for the souvenirs I gave them anytime soon. While I was doing my best to look threatening while being buried, Jasmine Star told me I should feel pretty good about myself regardless. She said I was outnumbered and never really stood a chance, since she and her sisters considered great healers among the tribe. Therefore, the Navajo would never let any harm come to them at the risk of incurring bad medicine. I asked if this was due to the herbal medicine knowledge their parents taught them, the same knowledge that engulfed them to poison Captain Ruby's entire household staff. None of the stars were too happy I brought up Captain Ruby's name, but it was a good thing I did because while the ladies were preparing to mount their horses, it caused the oldest, Belladonna, to pause. She looked me straight in the eye as though she was taking my measure. Then she asked Esquire to unbury one of my arms and cut it loose. She also asked him to leave my rig where it was. Then she said she was going to give me the chance to escape because she wanted the truth about Riggy uncovered once and for all. She said she'd heard enough about me to think I might be the only person who stood a chance at it. Then the stars rode off with an escort of Navajo braves. While I dug myself out of the sand and got the rest of the way untied, I kept thinking about what she said. It was long after midnight by the time I finally mounted Orin. I knew I was likely to get lost or injured by falling into a ravine if I tried to follow the stars at night. So I built a fire to keep the wild animals away and waited until morning, still wondering what Belladonna's star meant. My mind was spinning all night. I didn't much like feeling obliged to murderers and thieves for sparing my life, so I decided to start asking myself the hard questions. The questions I think you've been inspiring me to ask all along, Miss Moore. What if the stars aren't the true villains in all this after all? I won't know the answer unless I do some hard digging in Rigby's background. The other much more important question I thought about all night was also inspired by you, Miss Moore, but it was much more pleasant to dwell on, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and be a bit unconventional. I've told you several times that I've thought about you during my traveling, and that's true. You've never been far from my mind. But when a man finds himself in the kind of trouble I've found myself in over the past several months, he begins to ask himself those real important life questions, like, why in the world have I been waiting until I got back to Frisco to ask you to be mine? If you'll pardon me for being so forward, I don't have to wait to see you in person again to know I'm dead gone on you. The truth is, I loved you the moment I saw you fighting off McDonald's man back at the Chicago train station. I knew I wanted to marry you the moment I thought I lost my chance to win you. The moment you told me you were about to marry another. When I found out your wedding was off and there was still a chance for us, I was bound and determined to take it, but I wanted you to have time to work through whatever heartache you might have had an account of Gambit. I know he's a scoundrel, but it must have been some redeeming quality that convinced you to accept his marriage proposal. Well, if you worked through it all, Miss Moore, Lily, if you're ready to give the idea of marriage another go, I'd be mighty honored if you'd agree to be my wife. When this hunt for the stars is over, I have every intention of heading back to Frisco. We can make it nice and permanent, then, if you like, take whatever time you need to think this over. I know it's a lot to take in, and since I've never actually done any proper in-person wooing of you, it may feel awful quick. A lady more accustomed to Western courting ways. All I ask is that you think it over, and that you don't fall in love with Parson before I get back. Affectionately, Matthew. Then at the bottom down here, in red, if you can see that, you can go to the flowerletter.com learn page, and it will talk about all the words that were highlighted in the letter. Sometimes I do go over them if I think that they're important. I will for you guys, or just a bit of interesting knowledge, that is. So, I am kind of shocked that he asked her to marry him, especially so soon. I feel like it's very, very soon. But I feel like she's gonna say yes. She's not gonna deny him or anything like that. So okay, let's kind of read through this. I think this is just kind of talking about his outing, kind of out in the West. And then of course we've got the map on the back, and we'll piece it together hopefully and see where he's at. So let's just kind of read through this just a little bit. This is going to be September 15th through October 3rd of 1884. Been sleeping in some real interesting places lately. Spent a night down at John Lee's Ferry. It's on the banks of Colorado. I paid Mrs. Emma a visit for a bit before turning in. She's given me an open invitation to stay in a sort of covered corral she's got if ever I'm passing through. If that's not too late when I ride in, I try to stop in and say hello to her. I feel sorry for the good lady. Must get real lonely out here since her husband was executed in '77 for his part in the Mountain Meadow Massacre. Makes me think of Mama being out in Texas alone, and I'll admit I worry for Mrs. Emma. But she's tough as nails, real nice lady, and a mighty fine cook, especially after eating mostly trail food the past several months. Told me I needed fattening up, so she fed me supper. I repaid her by chopping a big old pile of firewood for winter and confiding in her about Lily Clara and my intentions where she's concerned. Miss Emma's advice was to stop wasting time waiting around for the right moment, or your sweetheart will end up being someone else's. After reading Lily's fine praise of Sam, curse the handsome devil, I'm beginning to think Miss Emma might be right. I left Lee's Ferry and traveled 85 miles northwest until I lost the trail of the stars in the canyon. Back in June, I thought they were leading me into Navajo territory, but instead I picked up the trail west of the reservation. Then they started heading north again. Not sure if they were waiting for me to run out of supplies or what, but after 3 months of chasing them through the canyons, over rivers, and along mountainsides, I'm relieved they finally decided to make a move. I picked their trail back up on the western border of Navajo country. Before heading after them, I decided to get a good night's sleep. I set up camp under this interesting arch here. They've got some of these beauties all over Utah territory. Unfortunately, I also had 3 unwelcome bedfellows join me in my camp around nightfall. Snakes aren't my favorite reptilian creatures, and with good reason. Rattles are a dime a dozen out here. Sam told me once during our ranger days that rattlesnakes taste like chicken. I was tired and hungry enough from all the riding I'd been doing. I decided to try one for myself. Turns out a downright excavator when it comes to culinary delights. Last place I stayed before heading deep into Navajo land was an abandoned hogan. And here's a picture of it, what it looks like. On the edge of the reservation. Right cozy it was too. Okay, alright, so here's our map. And they've kind of got it blown up for us so we can kind of see the Colorado River here. The red is where he has went up and around. He's come down to where the Hogan is here, and over here where the Navajo Nation is. And right. So here's our map. And this looks like this is going to be about the territory that he's in, is right in here. As you can see, we have started it in past letters. Okay, so it looks to me, from looking at this, that he kind of went back here. And it looks like he kind of came up and he came back around, from what I can tell from this. It looks like he only just made a big circle and he's coming down past the little hogan that he slept in into the Navajo territory. So that's what I'm just going to do, is that I'm just going to trace that. So we're going to start here. We're going to go back up. We're going to go kind of over. And then just kind of drop it down. Hopefully if my pen, hopefully you guys can see that my pen is starting to give out on me, but it should be kind of something like that. It's not exact, probably like his, because his is like perfect. He made this zigzaggy thing here, but he did go down into Navajo territory. So far that's what we've got. And the top of it here is just kind of missing. We haven't made it, or he hasn't made it up this far yet. I like the little map. It's kind of simple. It's not as good as some of the other projects that we had, but I still like it. That was all the letter. I think we got to everything. We had the picture. We read first. Read the letter. We got his map. So yeah, I think that was definitely everything. You guys let me know what you think about it. We are going to jump over and we're going to try to do this one. I know this video is going to be just a little bit long. I'm trying to get through it as quickly as I can to get us caught up. So let's go ahead and let's open up this one. This is going to be number 16.